What's going on, everybody? This is Super Mike. Hopefully, you can hear me pretty good. Um, if you have a problem with hearing me, or if there's some static, I'm not playing any music. I think the music obstructs the video. But I just wanted to get this reading done because we want to outline this war. So I'm going to be reading from this book, which is The Pot Plot. I will be reading a little bit of a news story. We're just talking about the war on the assault on the black man and black masculinity, and also the assault on black people. And you're just talking about illegal immigration and all this sorts of stuff. And I just picked up this little story. We're just talking about how the press, and this is Brentwood, Discovery Bay. This is out here in California, in the Bay Area and stuff. Escaped inmates still on the loose. See, 2 inmates who escaped from Marsh Creek Detention Facility in Clayton on Sunday, September 4th, are still on the loose. Contra Costa County Office of the Sheriff said the 2 men were identified as Gerardo Ramirez Vera, 33, of Richmond, and Jorge Garcia Escamilla, 28, of Pittsburgh. According to a September 4th Sheriff Office press release, just after 11 that morning, the pair had escaped to minimum security facility at 12, escaped from the minimum security facility. So they were in minimum security, and they decided to escape from minimum security. Okay. According to the press release, following the discovery of their absence, law enforcement conducted a comprehensive search of the prisons, surrounding areas. An emergency count of inmates confirmed only Ramirez and Veras Garcia Escamilla had escaped. The facility houses sentenced prisoners and those who are facing lower level charges, the sheriff's office said. So what were they there for? Lower level charges. Ramirez was sentenced on weapon, burglary, and vandalism charges. Weapons, burglary, and vandalism charges, and was to be released. This fool escaped. And they was about to let him go in January. Yeah, Brentwood. I'm just saying, it's just interesting. We out here, and these are the people who giving jobs. They paid him in prison. But this fool was about to let this boy go in January 2023. He gonna escape and from a minimum security. Okay. Garcia Escamilla, and this man was being so it's crazy. So Garcia Escamilla was being held on charges that included drug possession. Now, black people, are you held in minimum security with drug possession? Vehicle theft, drug possession, vehicle theft, possession of a stolen vehicle, possession of burglary tools. This dude is a thief. He breaks into houses and stuff. Burglary tools. His court date was set for the end of September. This fool, he was supposed to go to court. He escapes. Why would they escape so easily? Why would they escape? Maybe they just go somewhere else. Both men now face additional felony charges of escape from a county detention facility. According to the press release, the pair now face a potential state prison sentence as a result. Authorities encourage anyone with information of the escapees' whereabouts to call this number, whatever. I just thought that was interesting. You know, they're quick to show black people all on the news and stuff. These people escaping from prison, low-level prison. So let's continue the reading of the war against the black community. This is an official war, guys. This is historical. And like I said, you guys can look up these events, and you can should look more into it. But we're going to be talking about how they pathologize, which is basically they call black masculinity a sickness. Remember this term, toxic masculinity? Pathologizing, this is part 3, pathologizing and criminalizing black masculinity, Project Ferdinand. In the wake of the black urban uprisings of the late 1960s, America became preoccupied with the threatening figure of the young black male, as well as the overall danger of rebellion and social chaos led by the National Institute of Mental Health and Justice Department. The federal government began to develop an overall program for biomedical control of violence. Okay, they're going to control your violence biomedically. It was inspired by fear of violence in the inner city and aimed at control of young black males. Peter R. Brigham and Ginger Ross Brigham, a biomedical program for urban violence control in the U.S. The dangers of psychiatric social control. All right. An International Journal of Psychology and Psychotherapy. This is where you can get these receipts. These receipts are here. And, you know, I'll post some of them later. But the point is, this is biomedical control. Ferdinand the Bull, which was an old little cartoon, the bull was a gentle and kind-natured fighting bull who, while the largest and strongest bull among his peers and capable of great ferocity, persistently refused to do any fighting. All he wanted to do was sit around all day, enjoying the beautiful smell of flowers, that herb. Flowers, the pot plot. That's all he wanted to do. Nothing the matador could do to Ferdinand, nothing they can do, would make him want to fight his tormentor. That's the black man in America. But we were deliberately made that way scientifically in a documented operation called Project Ferdinand. The scientists involved identified the aggressive inner city males as fighting black bulls. They literally called black males fighting black bulls. So that's what they look at you as, some sort of animal. The scientists involved identified the aggressive inner city males as fighting black bulls, like that black aurochs bull in this 19th century painting below, fighting off a pack of pale wolves. That once the black man, the strongest and most fearless of all mega beasts of the old world. But Project Ferdinand used psychochemical weapons to chemically castrate us and make us fearful and docile towards the pale wolves surrounding us here in America. The pot plot grew out of Project Ferdinand. The Detroit Rebellion motivated the Project Ferdinand operatives led by the Boston doctors Vernon Mark, Frank Irving, and William Sweet. The Journal of American Medical Association published in September. These are things you can look up. 1967. You can Google that. Role of brain disease in riots and urban violence. You see, they say your rioting and your urban violence, it has nothing to do with your being oppressed. It's a brain disease. So, role of brain disease in riots and urban violence was stimulated by the Detroit uprisings. They claim that this uprising was a display of pathologic aggression, and the young black males at the root of the rebellion suffered from mental illness, mild epilepsy caused by a damaged or malfunctioning amygdala. Look up what the amygdala does. An almond-shaped set of neurons located deep in the brain's medial temporal lobe. This diseased amygdala was causally related to poor impulse control and violent behavior. This mental illness was not limited to rioters, though. The social protesters and their leaders were motivated by the psychomotor epilepsy as well. Ultimately, chemical lobotomy or psychopharmacological intervention would be the method used to subdue the black masculinized hostility seething in America's inner cities. As Dr. Jonathan Metzl, Frederick B. Rensler II, professor of psychology, sociology, and psychiatry, and director of the Center for Medicine, Health, and Society at Vanderbilt University, documents, psychiatric definitions of insanity, police racial hierarchies, tensions, and unspoken codes. Mainstream culture defines threats to this racial order as a form of madness that is overwhelmingly located in the minds and bodies of black men. These are the statements that this man is pulling, that this researcher is pulling here. This is these medical people think of black folks. Some psychiatrists classify this specifically black male psychosis as a form of epilepsy, some as a form of schizophrenia, as a consequence of the urban rebellions of the 60s. The latter term especially came to be used to pathologize not only radical protest against racial order and dominance hierarchy, to pathologize angry black masculinity. Mainstream white newspapers in the 60s and 70s described schizophrenia as a condition of angry black masculinity. And that, the mental psychosis. Metzl writes, a symptom of this racialized disease is a social belligerence that requires chemical management via psychochemical technologies of control. An example of these is the antipsychotic drug Hadol, first released in 1967. Picture 3. Metzl observes, nowhere was this racialized resonance between emerging definitions of schizophrenia and emerging anxieties about black protests seen more clearly than in pharmaceutical advertisements for new antipsychotic medications that appeared in the pages of leading American psychiatric journals. advertisement for major tranquilizer, Hadol, from the archives of general psychiatry, showing an angry, hostile African American man with a clenched, inverted black power fist. This James Brown like figure literally shakes his fist at the physician viewer, while the orange burning urban setting appears to directly reference the civil unrest cities such as Los Angeles, Detroit, and Newark. The ad compels psychiatrists to diagnose masculine black anger and unrest as explicit threats not to patients, but to the social order represented by white doctors. The ad gives phantasmagoric illustration. Look that up. Phantasmagoric illustrations to the contention that black anger corporally threatens white authority. Indeed, the high-profile ad works by asking doctors to identify with their own projected fears. It asks its assumed white viewers to be scared. The ad goes a step further by suggesting that a doctor racial anxiety could be assuaged by chemically doing threats represented by unruly black men. This is what they're saying. So this is just documenting, this is reading. We're talking about the war against Black America. This is an official war here. And this is just a depiction of the Project Ferdinand. There was a bull that's extinct now. It's an oryx bull. It was so big. It was just under, they said just a few feet under what you would call an Indian elephant. Huge bulls. They don't exist anymore. They were hunted to death by people. And this is the Ferdinand. You know, they describe black men in the inner cities as fighting bulls. So these doctors were encouraged to chemically subduing the threat to white society posed by angry black masculinity became the objective, not only the pharmaceutical companies, but of federal and state governments as well. When you go from over 1,000 uprisings in 1960 to 1971 to 4 or 5 or even 10 significant uprisings over 3 decades, something happened. Now, keep in mind, the 70s is when they came up with this pimp culture. They start rolling in a lot of drugs, okay, and official drugs. And we're seeing that happen today. A lot of drugs are being legalized, encouraged. So it shows that's a sign of fear on the behalf of the government. So something happened, and it wasn't economic advancement or social improvement. What happened to make the black man so peacefully accepting of his wretched lot in racist America? What happened was government-funded psychiatrists and white social scientists diagnosed the problem of urban uprisings as a problem of the black male mind, a disease in his brain that manifests as pathological, black masculinized hostility. Or in other words, black masculinity that is hostile to white oppression and abuse. After the uprisings of the 1960s, black male masculinity was literally defined as a social illness rooted in a brain sickness. And if black masculinity is the disease condition of the black male in society, what is the socially healthy condition of the black male in society? Answer: if aggressive black masculinity is medical problem, then docile Black femininity is the medical solution. Turnham, how exactly did the government transform a fearless fighting bull into a fearful docile ox? By chemically targeting two things, our amygdala and our testosterone. By damaging our amygdala, which was the aim of the Project Ferdinand scientists, and or by diminishing testosterone to a level too low to act on the amygdala, a number of catastrophic results occur. Number one, threat can even be perceived, and therefore no appropriate physical and psychological response to the threat can be mounted. Thus, Black Americans sit surrounded by a pack of pale wolves and don't even perceive them as a threat to our very existence. That they are, excuse me, we don't perceive them as a threat to our existence that they are. The Negro still wants integrated equality with his natural predator, the white man. Is not the white man is the natural predator of the Black man. He is the natural predator of the Negro. There's a difference. All right. These are dentists. Frank Irving, no picture. This is William Sweet. That is Mark Vernon. This one. That's Diego Hosgado. That is Louis Roland West. And this is Ernest Roden, neurosurgeon at Wayne State University. This guy. In Detroit. This the cooperation often begins with Haldol. Cooperation often begins with Haldol. Assaulting and belligerent. So after that, he's cooperative. Wow. So the person with number two, the person with a damaged or inactive amygdala can be made docile, subdued, and easy to manage an enemy, because such damage mutes the instinct to fight like Ferdinand. Depending on which part of the amygdala is damaged, even an apex predator can be made to fear its prey, like a cat terrified by a mouse, or the prey can be made to fail to perceive and respond to the threat posed by his natural enemy, long-time enemy, like a mouse that continues to sniff around casually as a hissing snake approaches, or like a cat who continues to clean its fur unbothered by a barking dog approaching. This is how the Negro is in the presence of his 400-year-old tormentor. These black folks, you see people getting killed, you see problems, but you act like can't do nothing. You don't act like problem. How did we go from over 1,000 urban uprisings between 1960 and 1971 to only a handful or so since then? Because the Black man's amygdala and testosterone were successfully targeted during the 1970s up until this day. How did this happen? The process by which you turn a strong, fearless fighting bull of the inner city into a tame, castrated ox is to interfere with his interfere with his amygdala, lower his testosterone, and raise his estrogen, thereby biochemically feminizing him. Weed is a part of this process. As we should demonstrate, the weed being smoked lowers testosterone in men and raises estrogen levels. In addition, the THC significantly reduces amygdala reactivity to signals of threat. It interferes with the amygdala's ability to perceive threats in our environment. Thus, with our lowered testosterone and our unresponsive amygdala, we don't even perceive the threat posed by our enemies. In addition to our lack of threat perception, we don't have the biochemical fuel, testosterone, necessary to propel us to seek power. By rising up against our tyrannical foreign oppressor, we don't have the juice. And that's all we'll be reading today. And like I said, guys, this is just we'll get to the next section later on. But like I said, thanks for coming through. Yeah. Yep. Leroy. And like I said, this is document, you know, to put on record. You know, you can just, if people say, well, we don't know what happened, we don't know there's a war against black people, you can send them this. So that's it, guys. Peace out.